So any extra sort of processing or production tips, aside from the sounds that you use, have you got any specific settings that you always use on sort of compressors or EQs? You know,
No, not really. We're not kind of like every. I know lots of DJs that do, and probably that's why they produce so much stuff. But we, I don't know. Maybe it's stupid, but we basically always start from scratch and do that again. Of course, we have like kind of certain, like since Logic 7, you can actually save and copy the channel strips that you use. So we basically got loads of stuff from tracks we already made, which we can just with a click of one button recall, including all the EQ and compression settings and stuff. But that's really something, something we tweak it, but it's something you don't really have to look into anymore because it's just there, and it's just that kind of sound which has like a filter and a bit crusher and an EQ.
Yeah, we're not the type of producer who do like 2 tracks a day. We take longer, and we're happy with it as well.
So how long did this remix take, would you say?
Well, maybe 8 working days, something like that. But every track is pretty filled with automation. I think every track has at least 2 or 3 different channels of automation going throughout the track. Here, for instance, low cut somewhere. We do have some certain basic, almost in every track we have a low cut and high cut. Not always doing something, but just certain points where you want to do something or be out of the way of another frequency. We always have buses ready to use. They can be turned to 0, but they're always there to use. These kind of things.
Yeah, that's kind of the basic thing. So, but I think it's pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah, another thing we use quite a lot is like, we pretty have our own language here for some kind of things, but we call it like a slam, which actually is like a kind of sound which gives the end of a climax some kind of extra thing, and can be different kind of things. For instance, this is like one that we actually cut from another jam session we had with the Nord lead, but it could also be just faded in white noise, for instance, things like an MS-20 or stuff. We used to make lots of kind of this kind of sounds from. You can maybe solo some more.
Yeah, or for instance here we have a small kind of bass thing which has the same for the same purpose, kind of, for instance, just that kind of stuff really works if you make.
You can really see both our heads go like.
Yeah, you can really make it pointy even more. You can go towards this, and then you get like even more than on the end. It gets that kind of sound. And it's nice for a small breakdown. You get this kind of thing. For instance, here you used to a small part with a different bass line. It's all very straightforward, but it's just a matter of drawing and fine tuning it, and then taking your time to make this the perfect line up, and you don't need much more basically. Well, here we did use a lot more though. We also have here a reverse hi-hat helping, and here's a
kind of a car crash sound almost.
Car crash sound with a hi-hat and bass going up and all that.
Yeah, maybe it's nice to there's of course lots of ways to make this kind of sucking into sounds. We might use like a basic sound, again starting in a certain kind of key, which turns into a bunch of rubbish later on by either FM modulation or adding a noise oscillator or that kind of stuff.
So did you have FM7 and then moved on to FM8, or was it from DX7?
I had a DX7. No, I used to check out FM7, but I didn't really see the use until I actually.
We actually had lessons in DX7 in school.
Yeah, programming like the TX81Z and that kind of stuff, which obviously is really crappy with the really little screen and stuff. You have to go to thousands of menus, and we all knew them by heart at a certain point. Then actually, one of the assignments was to build an editor, and actually, Native Instruments did the same thing by having. What I really like is it's also suitable for dummies because it has kind of a easy mode where you can really easily change like attack times or just really basic parameters of the track, like an amount of harmonics and kind of stuff, which actually is like, I think, changing like the ratios or the frequencies of the operators. That kind of stuff is really good for kind of ambient. Again, the swooshing sounds like sounds coming out of a big break. You can, for instance, work very well and like having a sound like this, like a crash cymbal together with like kind of this kind of thing works really well. And you could also have it the other way around. Let's see if I go in
expert mode.
Expert mode. I'm not actually allowed to do that for more than 10 minutes. But you can actually see like all the envelopes lined up, so you can actually see what happens here. This is probably this one going down. You can probably change some settings here. Make it go other way around, or draw a longer attack on this one. Let me see. A little bit too long. You change like the kind of feedback settings, make it more sharp, almost lots of noise. Like this kind of thing, almost no tone. So it's a really good approach to FM synthesis, I think, because you can just see all the oscillators working there. You can just see what they do, check them out, hear them. You can just put them in a signal path, that kind of stuff. You actually got a filter as well, so which you actually didn't have on DX7. So that's what I like about this. So especially for this kind of swooshy sounds that you can use instead of a crash cymbal, or instead of kind of reverse crash cymbal. Let me see if we get some more sounds that we made with this. This one I really like. It's kind of a horror kind of sound.
Yeah, we basically just try to do best of both worlds. So sometimes we will take this approach, but other times we just take a sort of MS-10 and play around with that until we have something we want. There are so many. That's the nice thing about try to still work in both worlds, in the digital and in the analog world. You can always choose which flavor you want to that specific point in that specific track.
Another thing we really love to use is pitch bend.
Yeah.
We're actually, one of the reasons I got the Nord lead, and I just got a Nord lead 1, because the main reason I want to get it is actually, the sounds are amazing, but I really like the pitch bend, the pitch bend wheel, which is like,
yeah, I think
don't know if you can see, but
should give some credits for the pitch wheel of the Nord lead.
Some people might know that it's really compared to other brands of pitch bend, which can be quite like clumsy and kind of plastic things. It's got a really nice wooden pitch bend wheel, which actually isn't a wheel, it's more like a stick. So
maybe they should just also like produce it like separately as just sell.
Yeah,
pitch
actually,
bends.
if they would have, I would just have bought that. But no mistake. I mean, I really like the Nord lead. It's got a really particular kind of sound.
Well, here's also we have a good example here of the pitch bend also.
Yeah, first play without the pitch bend. So yeah, some really kind of pad kind of chords that's with pitch bend. So that's without pitch bend.
Because without pitch bend, we want something to kind of cut in between. Here you hear it in the whole mix. And then we just added some pitch bend.
So that makes it a little bit more lively.
Yeah.
I just had a feeling that someone was missing there, so that makes
Sounds
it
almost like a chorus kind of.
But it's also like really to make tracks interesting. You know, it's like really micro kind of modulation, which really brings a bit of life to the sound and makes it feel that it's live played, or actually it is live played. This thing is just me banging away on the pitch bend wheel of the Nord. You can actually see that it's almost like a sine wave. I mean, it's got a certain kind of resistance, which it doesn't go very easily. So you actually have to push quite hard, and it's almost like playing a cello or something. So we're a big fan of that. Basically,
Yeah.
North lead pitch bend wheel.
So do you use that as your main MIDI input then, the Nord? Like
Yeah.
trigger
That's our-
because of the pitch wheel?
Yeah, it's mainly because of the pitch wheel. It's weird, but
Yeah, we used to have like a Yamaha there, CS2X,
but it never does really what you want, because if you really want to pitch bend nicely, it's got a stop in the middle, so it always snaps back to the middle. This one does as well, but it doesn't have this click in the middle, so you can just do it really. Yeah, as I said, it's almost like playing a cello or violin or something, because it also works very well with strings when you have like sampled strings and you want to add some vibrato, which you would have in an orchestra. You could perfectly do it with this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, enough about the pitch bend.
That's true. It's more live than like a modulation kind of thing or something, because then it's too clinical or too.
And what synth was that playing those chords?
Yeah, we've got these chords. I want to show you guys. It's a mini monster. Synth we've used over the years quite a lot.
Hij bedoelt die andere volgens mij. You mean the pitch bend chords or the?
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's actually a V station. And we put one on the left and one on the right and made it a bit stereo and.
That's actually the only good sound it makes, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I'm sorry, we don't want to insult anybody.
Yeah, I'm not a really
It's
big.
quite old now. Though, isn't
I'm
it?
not. Yeah, it's just this sound we had lying around from one of our first tracks.
Just sounds quite nice, quite 80s. And
It's really 80s. I'm not a really big fan of the Novation stuff for the rest, but this one seems to work well. Does the job.
these other chords I was talking about is the Mini Monster. It's a synth we kind of use for all kinds of things because it's very flexible. Can basically do most stuff you want for basic kind of pads and stuff like that. And what we usually do, we use these days for the last kind of couple of months a lot of time the Stormgate, which is really kind of nice little tremolo machine.
Yeah, I actually read about it. I think I started using it after reading Future Music because.
Yeah, we use it every track a couple of times. It's really, it's such a nice little thing. I'll put on solo. This is without the Stormgate. And sound comes like that. But with Stormgate you can basically make it the way you want and get it. And you can draw yourself, you can or do with a pencil, you can just make it weird shapes. And
Yeah, it's a really nice tool, especially like in a kind of Italo kind of idiom that we use.
it can also give really small little punches, or you can fade it in with automation and start from here and start.
So that's what we use a lot as well in like kind of build-ups. We kind of use that to, when you like introduce another part or there's like a big build-up, it's very nice to like towards the climax to like change the dry and wet volume of this plugin to just really, you can really take a sound which is like it's like, and it really gives some kind of really kind of, it's almost
very
like
punchy, and you can also put it on the master as well.
Yeah,
it's kind of,
it's almost like the old 909 snare drum ruffle, which goes like you know, but then in a totally different way, and it has kind of that effect, which is nice. Another amazing thing is that it's actually got like you can actually it's got a groove function, so you can make it shuffle, which is kind of funny.
Yeah,
which is kind of nice. So you can give a nice shuffle. Even if you use it very subtly, you can still kind of give like a pad sound some kind of a rhythmic feel, and it's almost like the sidechain, or you can use it like the other way around as a sidechain.
By the way, the bit crushed sound from this pad comes from Mr. Sonic Destructor. Without it's a very normal sound, and with it's completely something different.
Yeah, I think it's something lots of people experimented with. It's just a basic. You could also use a bit crusher, and then obviously when you like change setting of the filter, the thing gets really nasty somehow, and that's how he built this climax basically. Just have the bit crusher, and when you change the filter settings of anything you put through it, it gets really raw and nasty. So you can actually start like this, really nice subtle. Yeah. And you can open like that. And you can obviously hear the storm gate going there as well.
We also use in variety, we also use a lot of times the TDK2 is called, right? It's also doing similar kind of weird bit crushing distortion kind of effects, which is very useful. But this time we chose to use the Sonic Destructor.
Do you bus everything for a sort of a group channel for drums, or do you start processing the drums?
Yeah, sometimes we do, but I think on this track we use separate compressors for drums, and then we have the main bus compressor, which does where most stuff goes to for sidechaining purposes.
Yeah, in this case we didn't really use drum bus. Depends a little bit on the track.
And do you have a compressor that you always go to for kicks, or do you try different ones every time?
Well, we usually just use the Logic compressor. Quite happy with that. Although we don't use it on main bus stuff, we're more happy with using wave stuff. But for separate snares or kicks or stuff like that, the Logic compressor does the job. For sidechaining, it's important though to always be very take your time to check if the release and attack speed and all that is sounding nice in the groove. A lot of people just put a sidechain or a compressor on it, and it doesn't groove along with the rest. So it's very important that it's kind of pretty precisely in groove times.
Do you usually just have one sidechain then? You're not busting together?
Well, we have a few small ones, and then there's one big one coming all together here on the end on the bus, which does a lot of the hard work, let's say. So you see him doing a...
And have you got attack and release time the same for all the other sidechains, or are they all slightly pushing and pulling against each other kind of thing?
In this case we only have one sidechain compressor. There is one thing,
I think on one of the hi-hats maybe.
that's kind of funny. I was actually quite happy to find out that one of the soft synths in Logic, the ES2, has like sidechain input that you can actually use to control actually whatever parameter you want. So for instance, let's just quickly switch around. I had this sound here. Let me check it solo. Actually what I did here was I put the sidechain to the pitch of one of the oscillators. I just try to solo the oscillator together with the guide track. So actually, that's actually the kick, like controlling the pitch of the oscillator, which is kind of funny because this one particularly has like ring modulator setting. So one of the oscillators is going in time with the kick, while the other ones are just staying the same. So you can just hear the that's just that one, and then all together away or something like this. And of course,
so it sounds very kind of sidechained, but it's actually not sidechained on a kind of compressor way, but on actually in the synth itself. That's kind of the...
And this doesn't of course have like settings for attack and stuff, but it's still, I think it's quite a funny feature which you can use for all kinds of things. Just levels of oscillators, like modulation settings. You could even control envelope times with just a sidechain, which I think not people are aware of. So very cool feature of ES2, I think. Well, it's the basic setup you would normally find in most dance tracks, with like a guide track that you actually don't hear, so the kick drums bounce to a track with no output, which controls like the sidechain. Most of the things go to a bus, which is controlled by
Yeah.
that sidechain.
I think it's also always important to use the same kick for the sidechaining channel as the kick you're using, so it has the same shape. And
So even when the kick stops, sidechain's still active, and basically almost the only thing that's rooted outside of that bus is the kick itself, and
Yeah.
sometimes maybe vocals or stuff. So we got the sidechain not on a master but on a bus, so we can root in everything we like
Yeah.
or not. But it's just basic stuff.
we have here this bus 8. Most stuff goes there. First there's a multi-compressor on it, C4 from Waves, and then there's a sidechain compressor on it, which does this guide channel, and then the rest goes to the master channel, which has a small EQ in this
You
case.
work on with the master channel with stuff on the master channel.
Yeah, we put a L2 on it, and we have, for instance, low cut for on some parts where it's nice to kind of play around with it a little bit in climax, for instance. Let's say here, there's low cuts goes up and it gives.
Pretty basic stuff, like what you would do like in a DJ set as well. Is just kill the low end for a little climax and then just bring
Yeah.
it back in. So.
We actually do quite a lot with the master channel. We, for instance, do little sneaky stuff like changing volume and all that. So he has like also, so just before it kicks in, it has a certain, gives an extra edge. For instance, here you have the, here's a climax. And a lot of it's just done by very fine-tuned drawing of the master channel. What we also use a lot nowadays is different reverbs, just few normal reverbs. We also use one reverb, really long one, like 8 or 9 or 10 seconds. We've also a sidechain compressor on it, so if you put something through it, you get like, you can almost put anything through it. For instance, if you, you have the sound. With such a sidechains reverb, it sounds something like this. This is without the sidechain, and with it, so you can do all kinds of.
So you just sidechain the reverb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big
Not the actual
reverb
sound.
bus. Yeah,
Yeah, that's kind
which
of
is
fun.
nice. It works kind of good for this kind of track.
What's also sometimes a nice thing to do is to, we talked about, we have this normal reverb and a reverb that has a long reverb which has a sidechain compressor on it. It's also nice to actually draw the volume of this bus. So for instance here we have a big climax and we wanted to after, when everything stops, to still hear the reverb getting louder and louder and louder, so you get something like this. It's just a matter of drawing and so you hear it coming up, and you can do all kinds of small little tricks you can do with low cuts and all these kind of things on just buses. So we always have like a master, below like the whole master channel here to draw stuff in, from effects to volume to low cuts to all these kind of things, but also all the reverb or other effect buses. So it's all very flexible, and you can tune any break or whatever the way you want it.